Local COVID-19 updates from the experts. What to know from UT Southwestern.
Hello, I'm Dr. John Warner, Executive Vice President for Health System Affairs at UT Southwestern Medical Center. We launched our UT Southwestern's What to Know video series 6 weeks ago with a simple goal. We want to share our insights and the insights of the experts invited to be on this program to inform you and to empower you to make smart decisions about your health. We're privileged to have with us today Gary Kelly, CEO and Chairman of Southwest Airlines. UT Southwestern and Southwest Airlines are neighbors. Our corporate headquarters are right down the road from each other. And UT Southwestern very much appreciates the contributions that Southwest Airlines makes to the health of our community. So Gary, thanks for joining us. I'll begin with the question that I think is on everyone's mind as they're beginning to think about flying again or flying again. What do you think short-term, what air travel is going to look like, and how is Southwest Airlines approaching all the changes in our flying habits?
Well, we certainly look forward to everybody flying again. So thanks so much for the question. And thanks, Dr. Warner, for having us. And let me also just thank UT Southwestern. We've been working with Dr. Pearl through all of this, and you all do such a fantastic job. And we feel like we're neighbors just right down the road here. Well, I think what customers will find is a very good travel experience right now. We're requiring all of our customers to wear masks, so that's a little bit different. And when they arrive at the airport, they're going to find that our employees are all wearing masks. We're practicing social distancing in the airport. And then once you get on board the airplane, we're not booking the airplane full so that all the middle seats can be open to allow for some physical distancing also on the airplane. The schedule is reduced significantly from a year ago. We're flying about 65% fewer flights. But, except for those kind of changes, we've got plexiglass shields in front of our customer-facing employees at the ticket counter and at the gate and some things like that. Otherwise, it's a really good travel experience. The flights are on time. You've got an open middle seat. And the load factors are still pretty light. So the business is down significantly versus a year ago. But it's a very good travel experience, and we're doing everything we can to make it safe for our people and absolutely for our customers.
So if you were to look 5 or 10 years from now, what effects do you think on air travel this pandemic will have going forward, if any?
Well, I think there's a couple of things going on right now. First of all, we've got a recession. It's so intertwined between dealing with a pandemic and then dealing with the economic effects. It's probably impossible to pull the two pieces apart. But historically with recessions, business travel is cut very sharply, and it takes many years for it to recover before it starts expanding again. So I think that we should all expect that. And I think especially with international travel. So at least, for Southwest Airlines, we're 96% domestic, so we're less exposed there. I think once the world is comfortable that the pandemic is past us, you kind of go back to the Spanish flu of 1918, it was followed by the Roaring 20s. So I feel very strongly that life will get back to normal. You all, of course, are at the forefront of fighting this virus, and that will be important. But 5 or 10 years from now, I think air travel will look like it did in 2019. Under the assumption that the pandemic is gone, we have vaccines, we have therapeutic treatments, and people feel comfortable that they don't have to wear a mask and stay sheltered in place. So I'm very hopeful, and that's certainly what we are working towards at Southwest Airlines, is to get through this rough patch and be there for our customers when they're ready to fly.
So in thinking about that rough patch, every business student in America, I think, learns about Southwest Airlines. I know when I was getting my MBA, I certainly did, and about the commitment to service and the organizational culture that is so strong. I'm curious as to how your culture has helped during this pandemic and what you expect the effects of the pandemic will be on your very strong and legendary organizational culture.
Well, to me, I think the culture is the most important thing in any organization. It is at UT, it is at UT Southwestern, and certainly Southwest has been famous for that. Next year will mark 50 years for us, and we've never had a furlough, we've never had a layoff, we've never had a pay cut. We've never lost money in a year since our very first year that we started up service. There's a lot of good within Southwest Airlines and a lot of confidence that we have a good business, we offer great service, we run a great operation. And our employees are resilient and they are very engaged with our company. So culture is a combination of many things, but I think the main point I wanted to make is that it's hard to have a strong culture if you're not good at what you do and if you're not confident about what you do, if your customers aren't happy with the service. So all those things are very, very important. And I think it sort of creates an environment here where our employees work really hard to take care of each other. And we've got a very transparent society within Southwest. We've been very upfront that we've got some significant challenges here. And we've also been upfront saying that can't promise you that we won't have a furlough or a layoff this time. I can promise you it'll be the very last thing that we do. And they believe that. And it's like a family. So that then I think extends to an empathy, a hospitality, and a care and compassion for our customers, and especially in a time like this. So I think it's critically important, and I think it gives us a huge competitive edge.
So at UT Southwestern, we're thinking a lot these days about how to make our patients confident in us again so they can return and receive care. I suspect you're thinking about the same things, building confidence in your customers so they can come to the airport and get on a plane and fly again. How is Southwest approaching that?
I think we have exactly the same objective there. And our number one focus right now is the health and safety of our employees and our customers. So we published what we call a Southwest Promise. And within the promise, we're addressing hygiene and cleaning, social distancing, all the things that are important that we've worked with Dr. Pearl so very closely at UT Southwestern to implement. So we're sharing with our customers that we're doing deep cleanings at the airport every night. And then on the airplane, we're also doing cleanings between flights. We do a deep cleaning every night. We're using a monthly electrostatic sprayer that sprays an antimicrobial mist that will kill the virus on contact. And then as I said earlier, we've got plexiglass shields in place, we've got masks. So all of that we're sharing with our customers so that they know we've implemented these procedures to make sure that we have a safe environment. The airplanes are also equipped with HEPA filters, which I know you're very familiar with in your world. So it recirculates the air in the cabin every couple of minutes and captures 99.97% of all the particles in the air, including pathogens. So it's a very clean air environment in addition to all the cleaning procedures that we have in place. So it is as safe, I think, as we can make it. And at least I've flown quite a bit over the last month, and our customers seem to be very comfortable with this new normal, if you will.
Thank you. We're hearing that as well as our friends and family begin to fly. I'm curious, as through this pandemic, like you, I suspect, we're seeing extraordinary work by our staffs, our employees, all the folks that are committed to our organizations. I'm curious what you're most proud of or what things have surprised you about your workforce and their commitment.
Well, of course, this is right in your wheelhouse in terms of dealing with viruses. Maybe not a pandemic, but I'm sure you all are very, very prepared mentally to deal with a situation like this. We have a function within Southwest called enterprise risk management. And you kind of go down the list. What kinds of things are there out there that would just put us out of business? And this was on the list. But nothing like this has ever happened, literally since 1918. And the speed with which our business collapsed was just breathtaking. And early on in late February, early March, it was just hard to come to grips with what was happening here. But within about 2 to 3 weeks time, within the month of March, our business went from healthy to almost zero. So the speed is I've never seen anything like that. Even 9/11, which was such a shock to the country, in addition to companies, it was as if it were over quickly, in the sense that we had an event. It was very tragic, but it wasn't continuing on. This isn't ending. So I think the thing I've been the most proud of is, again, back to your question about the culture and our employees. Their world changed almost overnight, and the technology infrastructure was in place for us to be able to distribute work out of the headquarters to allow people to work from home. We have call centers across the country taking customer calls. We've never had our call agents take phone calls from home. And all of those things were activated within a matter of days. And I was so proud of that. The technology folks worked day and night to implement that, as did all of our business units. But what's fascinating to me is we've made all these changes. They're fairly radical, and our functions haven't missed a beat. The airline has run magnificently. I think the other thing I've been very proud of is that we had a schedule of, let's just say, 100%. It was roughly 4,000 daily departures. They had to completely republish that in a very short period of time and reduce it by 65%. The array of options available to our network planners is almost infinite. So they've done that. They've got a very good schedule in place. We haven't lost any itineraries across the United States, which is pretty remarkable with that kind of a change. So again, I just credit our people with doing that, and the folks that are on the front line serving our customers every day. They've shown up, just like again in the healthcare field, grocery workers, whomever it might be, showing up every day, taking care of each other, taking care of customers has just been a real inspiration, I think, for us all.
That is remarkable. Those are quite a few variables to solve for us, as we all are doing, right? And so I'm curious, all of us will be different coming out of this. I think leaders will be different. Certainly all of us that are viewing our jobs, our families, our life a little bit differently. How do you think this pandemic will change you personally or professionally?
Well, it's just one of those things that, at least for me, the main thought that comes to mind is gratitude. I'm grateful that we were prepared. We had plenty of cash. I mean, because our second priority here is to make sure we have enough cash to see our way through this. And you all, no doubt, are in the same situation because your business has been impacted too with non-essential healthcare. And you just never know what's around the corner. You just can't take anything for granted. And I think it's just sort of a reaffirmation of that going forward. I'm a baby boomer, so my parents lived through the Depression. My dad was in World War II, and I just haven't had any of those kinds of experiences, and neither have my kids or grandchildren. I think that this is a wake-up call for really the world, and certainly we need to take the risk of a pandemic much more seriously and be much better prepared for the future. But I do think that it just illustrates again how important society is, how important community is, how important really good companies are, because it takes decades to build things. And it's just fascinating how rapidly it can all be destroyed. So all of that, I think, are good lessons for the future. And certainly we'll want to make sure that Southwest stays prepared.
I've certainly learned some things about the hospitals here at UT Southwestern that I'll think about as we prepare for hopefully nothing like this ever again, but stressful circumstances that will stress our businesses again. What do you think would be your most prominent lesson that you've learned as you think about something that might happen in the future like this?
Well, I think a lot of the cleaning procedures and a lot of just basic hygiene, I think, is good, again, for the world, for society, and for our company. I think, just managing our supply chain and just making sure that we have this level of preparedness where we are today, I think, is in very good shape. But in terms of having the personal protective equipment and all the cleaning materials that we have, we didn't have that back in March. So I think there'll be a better preparedness when it comes to the financial side of the business. I think we were in pretty darn good shape. We have very modest debt. We had plenty of cash. We had access to the capital markets. We'll probably want to carry more cash in the future as a reserve. You look at the Hertz bankruptcy as an example. They, at least what I'm reading in the paper, they have about 17, 18, 19 billion dollars in debt and $1 billion in cash. Well, ours is flipped. We have more cash than we have debt, and I'm glad for that. So I think that's not necessarily different in the future, but I do think that we'll probably want to continue to be more conservative financially. I think there'll be a lot of learnings from this. The technology enables what we're doing today, to be able to communicate. I'm grateful for that. I think having employees who are able to work from home continue to do that, I think, is an interesting idea. I'm not really ready to commit to that. You've heard Twitter say that employees will work from home, and Facebook. And so to me, it kind of ties back into your culture question earlier. And there's an accountability as well. I just think there's a lot of advantages of being together. And Southwest is a very social, family-like company. So I think we will want to think those things through very carefully. But I'm glad that we have those options to consider. And you just think about commuting and real estate, all those aspects, I do think will be different in the future. But again, not ready to make any radical changes on that front yet.
Well, thank you, Gary, for joining us and for your commitment to this city and this country and getting us through this pandemic. I know at UT Southwestern, we frequently turn to your company and to you for advice, and you've been very helpful to us, and not only in times of pandemics, but also in quote unquote normal times, and helping us think about what great service and commitment looks like. So thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Warner.
As we're entering the summer season, we're thinking about travel, but we're also thinking about our kids and our families. So join us next week as we talk about kids and coronavirus and activities for the summer that are safe for you and your family.